Everyone, so this is going to be the second opening events video, the second part. Because they have two opening events, one for the prologue for where you're staying at, and then the other one's for when you go to visit the territories when you're staying at that prologue, after you've chosen, like, some route choices. So we'll be picking up where she was going to meet Vivaldi after she met up with Julius, Peter, and Ace.
Presented by Queen路線。
Okay guys, we're picking up right where we left off, and it was the soldier stood in front of Vivaldi's room. This is also why some people don't come to visit her. And she's like, no response to all these guards there. She's like, guards? Question mark. She's like, until now, Vivaldi did not wear such a thing outside of her room. However, the soldiers are also in trouble, it seems.
こんな仕事を言いつけた覚えはないんですけど。
Peter tells them, I don't remember telling you about this job, like doing this. The soldier's like, yes, and then trailed off. He's like, for the time being, please allow me to escort, and I was ordered not to move from here, ... Listening to this, Peter distorts his expression, and Ace pushed the soldier while raising his voice, with one hand also on the door.
いい加減にしてくださいよ。こんなことしていたってどうにもなりませんよ。嵐が防げるわけないんですから。
Ace is trolling. He's like, Your Majesty, please do us well and come out. I mean, if you keep doing this, it won't do anything because it can't prevent the storm. She's like, exclamation mark, question. Listening to the unexpected words, I look seriously at Ace. The storm can't be prevented, ... Is this a strict precaution to prevent the storm? Prevent looming storms with soldier security, ... I think it's an unreasonable consultation, but Ace also said that right now, too. Rather, he tells her that it is impossible. Is Vivaldi doing this because of the storm, she asks? When I asked, there was no sign of someone answering, and there was a sign of people moving behind the door instead.
Alice.
And Vivaldi's voice came through. She was like, Alice, after a pause? She asked her, Alice, are you coming in? And she was like, Vivaldi, yeah, I came to play with you, and has a smile. I was told, also at my place of stay, but will there be a storm, she questions. I was wondering if it was more of an emergency. It was more likely that a storm was involved here than the situation being conversely something else, but it does get me confused because she noticed all of the activity with the soldiers, and she's like, that doesn't make sense to stop a storm. And she's like, again, storms can't be prevented by escorting soldiers around. Why is Vivaldi doing this? She wonders. Vivaldi asks her, like, yes, did you hear about the ridiculous storm approaching? And she's like, yeah, hey, why are you closed in the room, Vivaldi? Like, why are you shut in? And she's like, if you like, can't you come out? Question mark, and she's got a grin. Sticking to the door and calling inward, I feel like I'm dealing with a child who has work and won't come out of their room.
陛下、彼女もこう言っています。そろそろ出てきたらどうですか？意味もないのにこんなところにまで兵士を割かないでください。
I believe Peter was telling her, like, My Majesty, she says that she would like it if you came out, question mark. And then he's like, don't split soldiers to such places where there is no meaning for them to be stationed there. He's like, we need them.
今回は俺もペーターさんと同意見ですよ、陛下。
And
い
Ace...
くら役なしでも金みたいに湧いてくるわけじゃないんだから無駄遣いしないでください。
He's like, I agree with Peter this time. Your Majesty, don't waste them because it doesn't look like it will work no matter how much you play at using them to stop the storm. Peter and Ace are saying decent things and they are actually in agreement, ... She's like, I usually don't think of soldiers or maids, those who don't have any role holding, like, position. There are many people who do bad things themselves, though. And she's like, bad habits, I believe, because that translated a little weird. She's like, I don't concern myself with them. They're not, like, part of my inner circle. She's like, it's a funny story, but it can be said that the current situation is actually abnormal here. Vivaldi tells them it's noisy out there and shut up. If you're a warrior, you're going to actually use the ability. She's like, you're going to use it. An irritated voice can be seen and heard through the door. She's like, you can see it, the irritation. She tells her Vivaldi, but I heard that this was to prevent the storms after a long pause. The, like, activity. She's like, is this meaningful? And then I don't think the soldiers will be able to prevent the storm, she trails off. And then you see exclamation marks from in the room. She's like, it's better for them to be there than not. And she's like, no, if it's a warrior, it's natural that they try to prevent the storm, exclamation mark, exclamation mark. And the soldier's just like, what? He's like, no that's... A soldier who had retreated aside, like, those soldiers, they're confused. It's far from pressing trust in this statement, and you'll only be in trouble if you can't do it, she thinks. She tells them, I think it's impossible. Just direct. Like, this isn't going to work. And she's like, Vivaldi doesn't like the storm that's coming after a long pause. I was wondering if that was the case, but what is this so far? Like, what have you experienced? Vivaldi tells her, isn't it ridiculous to be done in by such a thing that I have decided to hate? This time I will stop it with anything at my disposal, basically. She mentions, Alice, that there was a sign of moving after the voice, and Vivaldi was approaching. After a while, the heavy door slowly opens. Vivaldi came out as if to run out.
Alice, よく来たな。お前の声を聞いていたら、少しイライラが収まってきた。
Vivaldi tells her, Alice, you've come. If I hadn't heard your voice, I would have gotten a little frustrated. As if she wasn't already. And she's like, that's great, with a big smile to Vivaldi. What she is doing is behaving like a child, but when she sees her, she is Vivaldi, and this breathtaking beauty is full of elegance and seemingly full of integrity. Queen of Hearts, Vivaldi, she thinks. Like blood red in excess, a beautiful queen and a woman who is brave as well as hysterical, and that if she doesn't like something, they will be told to be beheaded immediately. I'm visiting as a friend, but I still feel a little nervous when I get to know her. But Vivaldi is a selfish person or a hysterical person, but was it a grown person who did such a childish thing like shutting themselves in? Natural phenomena can't be recognized by human hands, and things that cannot be prevented by our hands should be something that she should know about. She is not a stupid woman, and the current behavior was so stupid that it didn't look like her. Surprisingly, there is also a childish aspect to her. She's like, or is it that the storm will come bothering her to the point where she is actually disturbed? She's like, I hate you more than expected, and she's directing this towards the storm. It seems that it has already been causing people to go crazy before the storm. And then it fades out. So we're going to be auto-taken to the Hatters, where we meet the Gatekeepers, but they're actually the Mad Eggs. They've been possessed by the creatures that bring the storm to Wonderland. And so you're about to meet them. They've taken the place of Dee and Dum. And she thinks to herself, I can see the gate of the Hat Mansion. The Hat Shop family, the Mafia group. The home of the Hat Mansion is a mansion like a nobleman's mansion. She's like, there is a large gate in front of it, packed with gatekeepers, and since I have visited many times and interacted with them, I am also close to those gatekeepers. Or she thinks. And this guy comes up and he's like, hi Alice, did you want to play with me and did you come to see me? Question mark. The other brother's like, well, why do you think it is that someone rarely comes here? Question mark. Taking a dig. And then there's like no response because she's like, who are these people? Question mark. ... She's like, who? There were two men with long axes in front of the gate. Dressed in alike military uniforms with double-edged blades. Even from here, standing in front of the gate, it is the gatekeepers, she thinks. Question mark, question mark, question mark. And the brother's like, well, what are you doing standing out there for, Alice? Because she hasn't come in. She's like, gatekeepers, both someone who should have been a friend. Nonetheless, these two people are people I don't know. She's like, what? ... Maybe the person has changed, or the personnel has changed due to, like, business changes, or, like, assignments, shift assignment. She's like, but then why does this person know about me? And my name is also known by them in it. And then she trailed off there. Who were the previous gatekeepers? My friends, ... And she's all confused. She can't remember. She's like, I can't remember after a long pause. He's like, well, I guess it's for me. And then question mark, Alice? Because they were asking, like, what she was doing there. And it was like, to visit me, he was telling the other brother. And she's like, the two alternate and talk with each other. I'm confused and don't really get into what they're actually talking about. Could they be such two people? Staring at their eyes, I felt like it was them. She's like, maybe it was them. She's like, but it's really funny. I don't know their names. A 20-year-old boy and a boy that looks a little younger. Both of them have a well-appointed face, she comments. Sorry, loading my other translations here. Alright. She thinks that they are pretty cool looking, ... The The older man wears clothes that are probably a uniform. He opened the front of his jacket and the button on the inside shirt was off. A scarf is wrapped around both of their necks. She's like, I mean, it's bad to say this, but it is a little sloppy. But if you look at him alone, you might not care. Perhaps it's because you're wearing the same uniform and comparing it to another person. She's like, you can't wear uniforms like that if you wear them at work, and I agree that it breaks down the entire look. It looks good, ... but doesn't look like a decent gatekeeper. It actually looks a bit insane, ... But, ... this child is just the opposite of funny, for their impression. I moved my eyes to another boy who looks just like him. This was the same uniform, but he was wearing it properly. The used clothes and design are the same, but the positions and colors of the marks are paired. Trump marks in the jacket sleeves, trousers, and hats are their main differences. She's like, my eyes are called to the fine decoration on their chest, and how about the design as a uniform? Question mark, but if they wear it correctly, it looked like a gatekeeper's, because she's comparing it to this one dressed properly. She's like, the person wearing it is too young to be a gatekeeper, she thinks, though, ... A young boy has a cleaner hairstyle than the other. He supported a long-handled axe with one hand and stood as well. Two people who are unbalanced. These people shouldn't be unaware of this. She's like, oh, you might hear something rude in this, but have you ever met me? In the unlikely event that you have met once before, it is quite rude. You asked poorly, but politely. They didn't use honorifics as they were supposed to, she thinks. Then they were like, eh? To her?
これはまたとんでもないことを言い出すね。それは君は俺たちには会ったことがないという意味なのかな？そう言っている？
He's like, she also puts out such a ridiculous thing, like a question. Does that mean that you've never met us? Question mark. Is it like lightning hitting twice? The older one asks, and what should you answer, you think to yourself? No, I'm not saying that I have never met. How was it that I should put this? I'm telling you myself this. I don't think, it's warm and right of me to do it all. It's like being selfish when you think you have, or that you really have forgotten it, if you've met someone before. She's like, but what else should I say if I speak to an acquaintance that I can't tell from a stranger?
何を言っているんだ。相変わらずおかしなやつだな。お前、よくここに遊びに来ているじゃないか。
And he tells her, like, what are you talking about? You're still such a strange girl, question mark. You often come here to play. This time, the younger boy seems to have finished and has told me. She's like, have you been, ... question mark. I was told that you were a strange guy. Or I was told that I was a strange person. But what? What did you mean I come here to play many times? The gatekeeper's here, and then she trails off because she doesn't recognize them. ... Teehee. And she's like, that, after all, was it those two people? She's wondering if those gatekeepers were them, and she just suddenly can't recall. She's like, it's a strange feeling, and I don't think that they're acquainted with me, but when I think of who is the kid gatekeepers, I can only think of these two faces. So she remembers sort of them, but, like, they're replacing their faces with these two. I wonder what happened. And then she's like, I remember, ... She's like, if I really forgot, memory damage isn't good. And they don't feel like someone that I'm meeting and then have a, like, they don't feel like someone that you can meet and then forget after once. She's like, why? I can't remember. And she's still like freaking out about it.
アリス
And they're just like, Alice? Because she's been monologuing to herself. The name is called, and it ends up being awkward because it was called again. I was upset by my anomaly and started to get impatient with everything. I heard the arrival of a storm was coming at my place of stay, and I came to see the situation. She finally tells them why she's there. And she's like, I feel like my head is confused. I'm sorry, ... I don't know what else to say. I thought more and more funny things would be called out by them.
それはいけない大丈夫アリス
And he's like, that shouldn't happen, ! Are you alright, Alice? ? If you think it sounds like a wind, it's time to get up close. And she's like, Or no, you think it sounded like wind, but he got up close, and that's why she freaked out. Sorry. There's the older youth beside me, and standing next to me, he supported my waist with one hand and the shoulder with the other. She's like, what? That? Like, that's not necessary. She's like, no, and I don't have any other thoughts, but what is this current speedy showing? Rather than that, where did his axe go? She wonders, ? The axe he had until the last time disappeared suddenly. She's like, there are too many points to be worried about, and there are no awards for this. She's like, the only thing you can tell is that it's unnecessary for him to help. Well, ... are you okay? Even if you're confused, your consciousness doesn't mean that your knees should give, she thinks to herself. She's like, am I alright? Like, even if I'm confused, doesn't mean that my knees should give. I'm trying to get away from his help and relax. However, the young man must use his arms and release me to be able to do so.
そんなわけがないよ君はきっと意識がおかしくなっているんだ
He tells her there's no way that you are going to do such a thing, and you are really, really out of it. Like, you're about to lose consciousness, he tells her.
そうじゃないかと思っただって俺に会ったことがあるかどうかわからなくなるなんておかしすぎるからね
He tells her, I thought you were acting weird because it's too weird that you don't know if you've met me before! She's like, yeah, and then she looks all flustered. She's like, the youth seems to be so tense and seems to be taking this seriously. He stared into my face with a caring and pitiful gaze.
君は病気なんだよアリスああ俺のことがわからなくなるなんて一体どんな恐ろしい病気なんだろうねえダンプティ
He says, you are sick, Alice. Oh, what a terrible illness that you don't know me. And then trailed off. He's like, hey, Dumpty. And that's when he turned his gaze to the other gatekeeper standing in front of the gate. His name must be Dumpty, she thinks. Dumpty, who was almost expressionless until this time, was smiling very happily for some reason. ... And then no, he's answering the youth.
さあどんな病気だろう僕にはわからないなよそ者だしひ弱だから僕たちには計り知れない病気かもしれない
He's so creepy. Oh my gosh. So he's like in this one supposed to be kind of like a mad scientist almost, this mad egg. And so he got really excited here because he thinks she's ill, like with some disease or something. And he's like, now I don't know what kind of illness it is, but we can find out. And he's even blushing. So creepy. She's like, no, you're only strangers. And then she's like, I'm not weak. Well, compared to the rest of you, she's like, I'm not weak, but my physical ability is poor compared to the people in this world. So she's like, that may not apply. All the inhabitants of this world have limited physical abilities. Does it seem that me, who is just healthy, looks weak when compared to them? Like, they have limited, like, extra abilities with their physique. She's like, but it's a person like Nightmare that is actually weak, and I hate being told that I'm that same way. She's like, I'm not ill, leave me alone. I thought the same thing myself, but I want to deny it when people tell me that I am. There was also a desire to think that that was not the case, and I kicked the disease theory out of my head. She's like, that's not happening. I shake myself and try to escape from the arms of the youth, but he won't let go.
いや、君は病気だよ。恐ろしい病にかかっているんだ。なんてかわいそうな。
He tells her, no, you're sick. You're suffering from a terrible disease, exclamation mark. And then he's like, what a pity, ...
初めて俺を見た時、君は奇跡に巡り会えた感動に打ち震えていたのに、その感動も全て忘れてしまったのか?
He tells her, when you first saw me, you were trembling with the excitement of seeing miracles. But have you forgotten in all of the excitement, exclamation mark, question? She's like, hey, ... what is this, ... question mark? A miracle? She's like, what?
面白いな。すごく面白い。そういうことにしておけ、アリス。ハンプティが面白いから。
And then you have Dumpty over there saying, ah ha ha ha, it's interesting, very interesting. That's why Alice and Humpty are interesting. She's like, Dumpty is making fun of us, calling out with an unbearable face. A young man who supports me like I'm a sick person and tells me something unknown. His name seems to be Humpty, she thinks. And she's like, they're a set. Maybe he's a brother. No, better than that. And she trails off. You can't be sick. And isn't this a joke, she thinks? Humpty has no meaning, but Dumpty, who enjoys watching this situation, has no meaning in their words either. She's like, what is interesting about any of this? I'm healthy, and what's more, I'm shocked when I saw Humpty for the first time, she tells them. She's like, I don't remember being touched at our first meeting, and you can't expect me to forget or not remember. She's like, even if you didn't make an impression, you're making an impression now, so there's no way I would have forgotten, is what I got out of that. And she's like, what are you guys even talking about? She asked them. It's my first time with these people, and exaggeration was done for our feelings when we meet for the first time.
はあ、やっぱり忘れているんだね。哀れな。わかったよ。代わりに今、思う存分その感動を感じ直せばいい。
He's like, oh, forget it, I don't know, and then trailed off, and he was like, I understand, instead you feel just as much as I can, exclamation mark. She's like, huh? Wow? Exclamation mark question. Suddenly, Humpty was forcing her into making an attempted kiss that brought his face closer. She freaks out.
感じ直せばいいときたか。さすがハンプティだ。その見事なまでのプラス思考、ご都合主義。
And then they're freaking her out because he's like, ah ha ha, it's time to feel it again. Was it that time? As expected, it's time, Humpty, he tells him. Dumpty laughs, then Humpty turns in the direction of Dumpty while keeping the same distance from my face. Momentum from this seems to make a sound, and because it was done in front of my eyes, I was actually relieved because he was turning away from her a little bit.
どこがご都合主義なんだ。ベストな方法だろう。今からもう一度、彼女は奇跡を体験するんだよ。
He's so creepy. He's like, where's the best? What is the best way? She will experience a miracle again.
ほらごらん、アリス。俺の顔は以前と変わらず今も最高に美しい。
Humpty tells her, look here, Alice. My face is the same as before. The most beautiful ever! Exclamation mark.
君は今、神が作り上げた最も美しい芸術に出会っているんだ。
He tells her, you are now meeting the most beautiful art created by God! Exclamation mark. Once again, Humpty's face turns at high speeds. As the field of view was filled with his face, or as my field of view was filled with his face, I heard another voice of Dumpty making noise.
はは、なんて不気味なんだ。お前はまさに神が作り上げた最も不気味な卵だ。
He's actually digging at him. He's like, what a creepy statement. Ah ha ha, you are the most eerie egg created by God, he tells him.
不気味じゃない。いつも言っているけど君の美的感覚はおかしすぎるよ、ダンプティ。
Humpty tells Dumpty, it's not creepy, I always say, but your aesthetics are too funny, Dumpty. So he's like, your aesthetics aren't on point. And that's why. It's not creepy. Anger suddenly moved Humpty's neck again. Humpty shouts to Dumpty with a loud voice.
こんなに美しい卵であるこの俺を。ちょっと待っていて。彼女に十分顔を見せたら、次に君にも見せてあげるから。
Humpty just makes a statement. He's like, wait for the beautiful egg. Wait a second. For if we show enough face, it'll be you that I show next. I think is what that translated to, because it translated a little weird. They're the mad eggs when they bring the storm, and they're trying to, like, get an emperor, kind of, for their roles to, like, be complete, I guess you could say. They kind of exist in a separate timeline, but during the storm, like, things fluctuate enough that they came to visit. And we're gonna actually end this video here, because we'll have enough for one more video after this. And that should end our opening events, taking us back onto Boris's route right after.